Can you come early on Friday to set the table? My mother didn't ask so much as a sign. Her voice had that project manager clip to it, efficient, unquestioning, already moving on to candles and appetizers in her head. I pinched the phone tighter, blinking toward the window of my tiny apartment. For what exactly? The dinner for Brandon's promotion, she said, as if I'd misplaced the calendar in my own skull. It's mostly his colleagues and a few of his friends. Am I invited? The words slid out before I could coach them into something casual. A soft exhale. Well, no. It's a work thing, Lena. You wouldn't really fit, she brightened. But you always make things look so beautiful. If you could set the table, polish the glasses, maybe plate the starters, that would be perfect. There it was, the role I knew by muscle memory. Not guest, not even background extra. The crew member who vanishes when the curtain rises. Sure, I heard myself say, cool and even while something hot climbed into my throat. What time? 4 o'clock. We'll need everything ready before anyone arrives. Oh, and bring extra napkins? We might run out. She didn't wait for my goodbye before hanging up. She never had to. My job was obvious. I set the phone down and stared at the rectangle of sky between buildings. My name is Lena Hart, and in my family I'm the reliable fix. The person they text when the flowers need fluffing, or the spill needs erasing, or the evening needs that invisible magic that makes other people look effortlessly put together. Brandon's wins had always arrived with my fingerprints wiped away. I moved out years ago to escape that exact choreography. Distance, it turned out, isn't a boundary if you keep answering like nothing's changed. My phone pulsed again, a notification from a reservation app I hadn't opened in months. A two-top near the window at my favorite bistro. Friday night, Yuri PM. The timing felt like a dare. I hovered, exhaled, and tapped reserve. For once, they could rehearse without me. By Thursday, my lock screen looked like a control center. Don't forget the napkins. Brandon's boss is bringing his wife. Do 8 gold chargers, not 6. Make sure the seating cards are perfect this time. Each ping was a small tug back toward the old choreography. Smile. Show up early. Leave before dessert. I stared at their messages, at the way they talked to me like a dependable service you can summon with a text, then silenced the thread. This wasn't about Friday. It was about the last decade of being useful but invisible. Friday morning, my mom called anyway. Quick reminder, 4 o'clock. We're counting on you. I'll take care of it, I said, which was true. I was finally taking care of it, and it was me. The afternoon slid by like a held breath. Instead of hauling linens and buffing forks, I zipped up a dress that made me feel like a person rather than a pair of hands. I lined my eyes, clasped a necklace I loved, and watched a stranger in the mirror become familiar. Someone who didn't owe the world her Friday nights. When the elevator doors opened to the evening air, it hit me how light a body feels when it's done apologizing. At 7:30, I was ushered to a small table by the window, the city washed in gold outside. The hum of conversation. Glassware like notes in a chord. A candle I didn't have to light. The server smiled. Start with a wine? House red, I said, and my voice sounded rested. Across town, I could picture my mother checking the clock, telling herself I was stuck in traffic. My father offering his default defense, she's just running late. Brandon straightening his tie and predicting, because he always did, that I'd flake. The wine arrived smooth and warm. I let it linger on my tongue. When had I last said yes to something purely because I wanted it? Not because it solved a problem, not because it made anyone else's evening look seamless, but because the thought of it made my chest unclench. My purse buzzed. Then again. Then steadily, like a trapped moth. I didn't need to look. I already knew the chorus. Where are you? Guess in 20. Call me now. Lena, answer your phone. Guilt crept to the door of my mind and knocked, polite as ever. I kept my eyes on the candle. The server returned and I ordered the dish I'd been eyeing for months, the one I'd saved for... what exactly? An occasion that never gave me permission. The plate arrived as art. steam curled up around herbs I couldn't name. I took one bite and felt my shoulders melt a fraction lower. Outside, a couple toasted an anniversary. At the far wall, a woman read alone, a smile flickering at the corner of her mouth like a secret. The city breathed, and somewhere in that breath I found space, more buzzing. I let it tunnel into the lining of my bag, muffled and harmless. If you spend your life rescuing people from consequences, they never learn to swim. By dessert, I was laughing softly at nothing, high on the quiet. I ordered tiramisu because it sounded like a dare, too. The first spoonful tasted like a promise I'd made to myself years ago and forgot to keep. Across town, there would be a dining room in half-dress, a creased tablecloth, unmatched forks, candles too shy to catch flame, a kitchen with starters still in their packaging, anxiety pulsing in time with the doorbell. I didn't have to imagine it perfectly to know the shape. My phone, stubborn, tried again. I fished it out long enough to check the screen. Missed calls stacked like dominoes, texts thick with panic. Where are you? People are arriving. You're being selfish, Lena. I placed the phone face down and drew a slow breath. No errands. No lists, no disappearing act once the doorbell rings. Just me, a quiet table, and a night that belonged to no one else. Everything all right? The server asked as he refilled my glass. Everything's finally fine, I said, surprised by how true it felt. If you're still listening, don't forget to subscribe for more stories like this. It helps me keep telling them. If you're enjoying this moment, give it a like. It really helps the channel. And tell me in the comments, what would you have done if your family only called you to make things perfect for everyone but you? Back at my parents' house, the curtain was rising on a play with no stage crew. Where is she? My mom's voice cracked through the kitchen like a whip. She was pacing, one hand gripping her phone, the other fluttering toward a dining room that looked half-dressed, tablecloth creased, silverware clashing like cousins who never got along. My dad, bless him, tried his usual salve. She's probably just stuck in traffic. You know, Lena, don't defend her, my mom snapped. She promised she'd be here at 4. The guests will be here any minute and nothing's ready. From the living room, Brandon adjusted his tie, smirking like the whole disaster was a private joke. Honestly, I told you she'd flake. Lena's always been unreliable. The word stung even from miles away, though I couldn't hear it. Unreliable. Years of dropping everything to polish Brandon's spotlight, and that was my reputation. At that exact moment, I was leaning back in a candlelit restaurant, savoring the rich layers of tiramisu, the hum of laughter around me, the sweet relief of silence from their endless demands. My phone buzzed again. Where are you? Guests are arriving. You're ruining everything. I smirked and set it aside. For once, I wasn't their safety net. Meanwhile, chaos bloomed at home. My mom wrestled with the corkscrew, muttering curses under her breath. My dad tried to light candles that wouldn't stay upright. Appetizers sweated in their packaging on the counter. And Brandon, the man of the hour, lounged at the head of the table with a drink, scrolling on his phone, unconcerned. Can we just start eating? He muttered. Nobody cares about a tablecloth. They do care. My mom hissed. This was supposed to impress your boss. One of his friends leaned over, smirking. Maybe next time, invite someone who actually knows how to throw a party. Her face went pale, then crimson. The edges of her composure frayed with every laugh that wasn't hers. Across town, I lifted my glass, the wine catching the light. For the first time, I wasn't picturing how many candles needed to be lit or how many napkins were folded just so. I was picturing their realization that without me, things didn't fall into place. They fell apart. By the time dessert was finished, I glanced at my phone one last time. A new message blinked on the screen. We're sorry, Lena, we shouldn't have assumed. Can we talk later? Satisfaction warmed me deeper than the wine ever could. But tonight wasn't about them. Tonight was about me finally writing a different script, so I switched the phone off. And for once, let the silence speak. Don't forget to comment below. Would you have walked away or shown up anyway to keep the peace? By the time the last guest left my parents' house, The damage was already done. Plates sat abandoned in the sink, wine stains bled across the tablecloth, and my mother stood in the kitchen with her arms crossed, glaring at the wreckage like it had betrayed her personally. "This wouldn't have happened if Lena had been here," she muttered, slamming a plate into the sink. "Or," my dad said quietly, leaning against the counter, "maybe it wouldn't have happened if we hadn't expected her to do everything in the first place." That silenced the room. Even Brandon, sprawled on the couch with his phone, paused long enough to glance up. The truth was cracking through, whether they liked it or not. Meanwhile, I was strolling back to my car, the cool night air brushing across my skin like freedom itself. My belly was full, my shoulders light, and my phone was blissfully quiet. For once, I'd chosen myself, and the world hadn't ended. The next morning, I woke up to sunlight slipping through my curtains instead of a barrage of demands. I brewed coffee, wrapped my hands around the mug, and sat by the window. Peace, actual peace, filling the silence. When my phone finally buzzed, it was my dad. I hesitated, then answered. His voice was softer than I'd heard in years. "Lena, I'm sorry. We shouldn't have assumed you'd drop everything." It wasn't fair. The words made my chest tighten. My dad was never one to admit fault. I've been feeling invisible," I said quietly, like I only matter for what I can do, not who I am. There was a long pause, then a sigh. "You're right. Your mom and I talked last night. We realized how much we've relied on you without ever truly appreciating you. That has to change. It wasn't a perfect fix, but it was a start." Over the weeks that followed, little shifts began to show. My mom invited me to dinner as a guest, not a worker. My dad called just to ask how I was doing. Even Brandon, though still wrapped up in himself, seemed to tread more carefully around me. And for the first time, I didn't rush to fill the silence or smooth over the cracks. I let them figure things out without me. The biggest change wasn't them, though. It was me. The Lena who spent years folding napkins while others raised glasses had finally drawn a line. The Lena who always answered every call had learned how to let the phone buzz. One evening, I sat with my best friend Amanda, takeout spread across the coffee table. She grinned at me between bites. "So, life as a boundary-setting queen, how's it feel?" "Surprisingly good," I laughed. "Weird, though. Now that I'm not running around fixing everything for them, I have so much more time for me." "Imagine that," she teased. "So what are you going to do with all that freedom?" I thought of the couple I'd seen at the restaurant, laughing about the Amalfi Coast. A spark flickered in me. Maybe I'll finally take that trip. Greece, Italy? Somewhere far away. Amanda raised her carton like a toast. Now that's the Lena I want to see. That night, as I curled into my couch with a book, a quiet certainty settled over me. My family might change slowly or not at all, but I had changed, and that was enough. Because revenge doesn't always look like slamming doors or shouting matches. Sometimes the sweetest revenge is choosing yourself and letting them sit with the mess they created without you, and for the first time in my life. That was exactly what I intended to keep doing. If you felt that emotional shift, don't forget to like this video. It really helps the channel. Subscribe for more revenge stories where ordinary people finally take back their power. And tell me in the comments, have you ever been the reliable one in your family? What would you have done in Lena's place?